What is going on, everybody? We got a special show today. Let me bring this down a little bit. I understand John with the close up here. It's absolutely crazy, but we got a special show today. I appreciate anyone tuning in live, anyone that's going to tune in later. I know this is going to be a great one for the people to catch on recording, but we're going to do all things PGA today, and we got the freak in the sheets. We got the guy that has done everything in terms of playoff baseball, regular baseball. I'm going to beg him. It's not going to be much of a beg. We're going to get him to do NBA for playoffs. But we got the man, the myth, the legend, the freak in the sheets, Best Ball, a.k.a. Chris, with us today. And we're just going to go over all things PGA. I'm the PGA guy in there. Now, I will say, in terms of Chris's knowledge and what I've been learning, it's not up there with his, but in terms of my degen-ness and my just love of dailies and playing, I do it all the time. I watch golf all the time. For the last 5 years, it's been something I've been getting into. And we're just going to jump into the PGA Best Ball, the Albatross. I will share my screen here and just get that going. Let's see. Boom. It's going to be fantastic. How you doing, Chris? Sorry to just babble on like that.
I am great. This is awesome. PGA is, besides baseball, PGA is probably the thing that I am the most interested in during the summertime, and it's just perfectly matches up with the opposite of football season. This week we got the Waste Management kicks off the best stretch of the year, up through Augusta, up through the rest of the summer, and then it kind of peters off by the time the NFL kicks up again. So anyone who is a football fan, golf is the perfect complement. It's every weekend, 4-day sweat. You get the cut sweat on Friday, get that winning sweat on Sunday. It's a phenomenal sport for fantasy betting, anything. So I would highly recommend. And now that Underdog's involved with Best Ball, I'm expecting this to be huge here in the next couple of months.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. I've always said in the Discord and with a couple buddies that the golf and the racing sweat. I've done some F1 and I've dabbled in NASCAR early like that, but the F1, it's just those sweats are totally different because it's just the racing, you're in and you're out, you know where you're at, and it's just boom, it's done so quick. And then the golf, yeah, like you just said, you get the cut sweat when you get those the normal events. Now that we're into the I think this is the first actual event on the PGA calendar. And then you get the obviously the cut in there and then the final round and everything. It's going to be absolutely nuts, this contest. I will say one thing I do want to say right off the bat. This contest did run last year. It was a mini version of it, a 3/4 version of it, in terms of we didn't have the Masters. So we had this same Albatross, which it's funny, did not even fill. And it was only 5,688 entrants. Only 10K to first. It only had the remaining 3 majors that were in the calendar in the PGA Championship, US Open, Open Championship. We can get into the specific scoring in that. I don't want to do that right off the bat. I just want to keep chugging along. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is last year's tournament. This is this year's tournament. We are at 56,160 people. We have almost filled last year's tournament. Yes, we are 200 away, about give or take 200 entrants away from beating last year's tournaments and entries. So the one thing I want to touch off the bat there that we always touched on in baseball, if you were there, which was it's a brand new tournament, even though we had a little bit of a sample last year. So any of the data that we do have here in terms of last year, and a lot of it is just golf events, so it's not even really the best ball season. You do take anything with last year with a grain of salt. But like I said, the difference in the sheets are a lot of the results and data that we bring in for Underdog scoring is throughout all of the golf events that we can use. So it's not just really those 3 events that we're bringing data in from. That's the awesome thing. So I do just want to say right off the bat that this does include the Masters. This does include all of the tournaments with the 4 majors, with the Masters being first and then the remaining 3 in that order. I will get into the little sheet we have here, but I will touch on the scoring just right off the bat. This is what we're looking like for anyone that we don't necessarily know. This is a screenshot of that If you don't know pars, birdies, eagles, hole-in-ones, I would suggest really just Googling it real quick. Get a good example of that. It'll take 2 seconds, come back in, and then we can touch on this later. We will touch on this, the specific differences between this and the battle royales once we touch more on that. I'm going to bring in my boy Chris here to touch on this specific structure of the tournament. And now I got to zoom in here because I will do you all the disservice if you can't see. But this is like a macro view of the tournament broken down in a whole. So Chris, I'll just let you touch on this. And if anyone can't see, if we're having troubles again, just let me know. I'll zoom in a little bit more.
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind for me here is this is playoff best ball. This is similar to the pennant. This is similar to the mitten, the gauntlet. Like that is kind of the mindset that we need to approach this whole tournament with the way that the majors are broken out into the different rounds. And the interesting thing about this version versus, your regular playoff best ball is one of the main contentions in playoff best ball is you need to navigate around buys, which teams are going to get to play, which teams are going to make the finals. Here, the best players don't get buys. The best players actually get to play every round, and it's the shitty players are the ones that you have to work around missing events, essentially. So the most important thing to kind of wrap your mind around here is availability being the number one key. Is you need your guys to play each and every of the 4 tournaments, but with special emphasis on the last one, the Open, which is, as you can see by the payout structure here, that is where all of the money is. You can win each of your first 3 pods and turn your $10 into $120. And then once you get to the final, that's where the real kind of bulk of the payouts are. The first round being the Masters is super interesting, and we're going to talk about that a lot today because it has the most interesting kind of qualification criteria, the smallest field. It's one of the most prestigious tournaments in the whole calendar. Everyone wants to be there, but they have a very strict limit as to the number of guys that they let in. I think usually it's around 90, and a bunch of those are old guys that won once and keep getting invited back, young amateurs that have no chance. So you're dealing with a very limited field of people that can actually contend, score, and win. Whereas the Opens and the PGA are all full field events of like 140, 150 players. So the variance gets ramped up when you add more players like that. And we really need to focus on, surviving the Masters and winning the Open are the 2 kind of big keys that we're going to keep hitting on today, because I think those are the 2 most important parts of this schedule.
And I will say, if anyone is looking at it like, how am I going to survive this? How am I going to figure out which guys are doing it? In the video description below, we have a link to this sheet. Baseball, Twitter is his handle right there on the screen, has tweeted out the sheet. We have links all over. We'll put this in the Badge Bros golf channel, everything. But you will be able to check out this beautiful, beautiful sheet that we have here that lays out everything that you'll need to know at a glance. And what we're talking about right here is the Masters availability. So when you are drafting and you do want to just get that quick glance and you don't know, you'll have that available and you'll have all that right there. So again, that is what's awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on specifically about this tournament structure, or did you just kind of want to continue to carry on?
Yeah, I'll make one more point. So typically the Masters is a very high scoring event because the course it has its intricacies and it's very hard in some spots, but it is scoreable. The par 5s are reachable. People can get birdies, eagles, like they can put up big scores relatively easily. The US Open and the PGA Championship, the US Open is notorious for being borderline unfair hard to the players, where a score like around par or within kind of five strokes is usually the winning score, and they kind of pride themselves on making it a real pain in the ass for everybody. So automatically what that does is it lowers the number of underdog points that get scored, and it ramps up the variance. So if you look at last year's leaderboard for the US Open and the PGA, you'll see that the top underdog scorers are like roughly the top people that finished in the tournament, but it's not like a 1-to-1 match like it was with the Masters and the Open, which is the other kind of high scoring event. If you think about the 2 middle
Is
rounds,
this what you want me to click on here?
yeah, just go up. Yeah, you can kind of see that like Justin Thomas finished first in the tournament, won in the playoff, but he was the fourth highest underdog score for the week. So there's a little bit of that kind of mismatch when you get into it at these super hard courses that we're going to see for the U.S. Open and the PGA.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, that's perfectly put. And yeah, I think no Bo Sox put right off the bat. I just want to I'll touch on chat real quick. Just real quick, GM boys. But like no Bo Sox put in there. Yeah, this tournament is tough, man. It's playoff best ball. It's so much variance. The game of golf is so much variance. We were talking about that with Chris before show. It's just like we are drafting for a four tournament golf contest basically. So normally when we're doing PGA, you're doing a one tournament 4-round thing. Contest, sorry. And it's like you're only doing the Masters, you're only doing the PGA, you're only doing the Open Championship, the US Open, the small tournaments. Here we're pre-drafting for all of that. And we don't even know the people that are technically available. Some people may be available in the Masters, but then aren't yet available in the later round tournaments. So it's just, you add that on top of the game of golf, which is just so variant. There's no correlation between golfers. I mean, you get PM, AM waves that can affect, you have weather that can affect, you have just everything that comes into play. And we're drafting for it now. And these tournaments are like he has in here, spring, early summer, or early spring, summer. Like these are all just like months away. It's just absolutely incredible. So like he said, yeah, it's going to be extremely tough, but that's what we got the sheet for. And that's when we're going to dive into. I know I had something over. Let me pull this
It's
down.
basically like if Underdog said, yeah, week 4 of the NFL season, that's when you're going to start drafting the gauntlet, and you're going to be done by week 6, and that's all you got. You got like 10 weeks to wait, and then you're going to wait every round essentially, and you got to just kind of prep in advance and spray and pray essentially with some of these guys. As we're going to get into, because the other major wrench in the golf world in the past year is this splitting off of live and what it's done to kind of
Yep.
the quality of players in the regular events, but the majors are different, and we're going to get into some of the criteria around why the majors are either going to be able to, yes, let them play, or no, keep them out.
Yeah, so I think that's just a perfect transition to this sheet here, which you have basically you have it broken down into so you have their ADP, you have their major qualifications, are they available? And then this awesome little tab here that shows, are they available for all tournaments? And we'll tell you, basically, you want to have 4 will be the max. It's 4 of 4, you can see here. And then you also have, we can scroll over, for each golfer, we have their specific odds now, which is just crazy because these are going to change. And I'm assuming you have this link. So as they continue to change, they'll continue to change in here. So like, it's just something you can't take, like I keep saying, with a grain of salt. We're doing this so early that these are going to fluctuate and change so drastically. Maybe not drastically, but like quite a bit. Especially when we get more confirmation on live guys being able to compete like at these, because I know that announcement's coming later in the spring, like the official one. I think it was for the Open Championship or the PGA Championship.
The PGA is the only one that is still waiting to announce. The Open has said, like, we're going to announce it shortly, but I think they let the guys play last year. They're going to let them play this year. I need to make a very, very important caveat about the odds here. The way that sports books operate for golf specifically and for futures specifically is that they don't win based on setting the perfect line for every golfer for every tournament, which means that we can't take a single odd here and be like, this is, as efficient as like an NFL spread would be, for example. They win by taking the entire list of players and charging you 75% tax essentially on everybody, and saying, if you add up all the percentages, it adds up to like 100 and I think it's 140% for the first Masters on Pinnacle. And Pinnacle is like the top tier, like they charge the lowest spread, like they are very good quality of book, whereas other ones will charge you a lot more. So the odds are a nice way to kind of point you in a direction, but they're by no means like the be all end all of a player's strength and ability to actually win the tournament. And like you said, it's going to shift as we get closer, and it's going to change probably every week as like a new kind of tournaments worth of data gets added into the pool. So we always just have to be cognizant of like the biases of the public as well. Like if you look at what Tiger's odds are here, they're way out of whack for what you would actually expect him to be like technically worth. Like it kind of sticks out. So you just have to have those in mind as you're going through this process and looking at where the strengths and weaknesses are.
And I just want to put this little caveat here. For any guys out there, the Easter egg of seeing the live PGA Euro and then coming down just to have the GOAT symbol was I love that so much. So that was a beautiful touch. One thing then I guess we will move on to is scrolling just right to the sheet here. We have then how these golfers fared in the Underdog scoring system. And then you want to break down these two columns here for the people. And then we also have their world golf ranking, but we'll touch on this one here first.
For sure. So the first one, PPR is points per round. So the 18 holes that they played, just total, we added up, what is every score of every hole, score at the end, like everything, and then averaged across everything that they did throughout the year. So that kind of gives you a look at how well they did scoring wise, but it doesn't account for course toughness or field strength or any of those other things. So for that, we've added in this par column, which is points above replacement. So that essentially there's the average score in every round, and then how well did a player do above and below that to account for things like the Open or the US Open, where it's very hard and scoring is low. You wouldn't need to score as many raw points to kind of separate yourself. So that was kind of one measure of ability, but we were trying to isolate for that. It's a little bit tough when you're looking at just 1 year's worth of sample.
Yeah. And I will say then you can also, for people that are looking into more, there are other sites. I know Rick Run Good has a database that goes deeper than I can probably imagine. One shout out do here is Data Golf, which we'll get into specifically. I know that is what he's using, or what you're using, Chris, to put in these golf stats. And then I'll also touch on that on the BRs later. But there's more that you can go in depth to look at than just last season, what we have here. But this is just a good starting point to just to look at. And then to the right of that, we just have, again, their Data Golf Index, what I was talking about, and then their official world golf ranking, which you can use. We'll get into that. But is there anything you want to touch on with these?
So Data Golf is my personal favorite stats site service for everything related to this. They do a really good job with visualization and breaking things down. So highly recommend their stuff if you're looking at any kind of related stats. Their ranking is their personal ranking as of this week in time. So it doesn't really project forward. It's if a tournament started today, who would they rank and how? Mm-hmm. Index is their, I believe, average is set to 0, and it's how like good or below average you are essentially. And then the OWGR is the World Golf Rankings, which we have on here. It's not the best way to assess a player's skill level, but it's a very important criteria for qualification. So that is one of the standards that is still open for a lot of these tournaments for these guys to qualify. So if you can sneak into the top 50 in the world over the next 8 weeks, then you can make it into the Masters. And then it's 60 and a couple other spots. And then it's around. So you just have to pay attention to the cutoffs, and the bubble guys are important because there are players that are being drafted in every single draft that are on the borderline of being actually relevant based on World Golf Ranking. And that updates every week. So when that updates, we'll update this, and you'll kind of get to see how far or how close these guys are to actually qualifying.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's what I wanted to bring to you next is when you look at these golfers here, and you can go to their column and you see we have maybes, we have no's, we have maybes. That goes into, you can check the major qualification here, and you did the Lord's work of putting a little legend there of confirmed spots and then open spots remaining to really show what you're looking for in terms of golfers this year. Go ahead, check out this. It's right here. I know I'm gonna have to do it. They can't see it, but they need to be able to see this little tab down here. The major qualification qualification criteria. That's what you'll click. You'll see it for each major. Right now, we're specifically looking at the Masters. That's the closest tournament. That's round one. That's what we need to get out of the 1 of 6 pods. And that's what you're going to be looking at. So you can look here, top 50. One thing I'll touch on this and we'll move on is you can look at, say, where was he? Taylor Montgomery. So you see he's a maybe, and he is sitting in the world golf ranking of 51. So he's literally right on the edge. So he sneaks right in there, stays inside the top 50. He's in the Masters. He has him seat for a Masters. It's the same thing for Russell Henley, who he's 31 in the world golf rankings. He's a maybe for the Masters. He stays in there. It's simple. He's in the Masters. He gets it's things like that you can play on, and we have that all right here for you to check out. I guess the next things that I will touch on, and I have some banners here is we'll just touch on. I guess we already did it, but like who's going to qualify for each major. So we have that here. And is there anything from this page that you just wanted to touch on, or do you just want to move on and people can check that out?
Yeah, last caveat here that's very important is that the PGA and the Open technically haven't announced what their actual criteria are for this year. As of now, I've assumed that it's going to be the same. I think they're going to follow suit with the other 2 tournaments and let the guys play, and just the pure entertainment and engagement value they're going to get out of letting everyone in that already would have qualified. They're not making any special distinctions here, but essentially, I just think they're going to pull the line and hold the status quo. So when those get announced, we will update this and then fill out the remainder of the columns from the first sheet. As of now, those 2 are partially updated. So for the next week or so, I wouldn't fully just rely on what is in the PGA and the US columns on that first sheet, as I'm still updating the criteria as they do. But the first and the Open are also those are done. So those are, I think, set as of now, and then I'm gonna continuously update it as kind of the numbers change. We'll do a weekly check-in almost to see who's in, who's out, who's on the bubble, who's moving.
That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, we can even do a little check-in. I can we'll have all of this available for you. Again, anyone that doesn't know, just check out the badge or the Deposit Kingdom Discord Badge Bros channel. Top right, there'll be a little thread symbol. You can see a little hashtag. Click that. Join the golf thread. All this will be available for you right there. Boom, easy. I know we already touched on this, but is there anything else? So I'm going to touch on basically this is what Chris had as the 5 big questions kind of this tournament. And we just touched on the first one was who will qualify for major. How likely are golfers to win? I think we can put that to bed. We already touched on that. You can look at these rankings here. We already said that they're not be all end all. They're likely to change. You put your 2 cents to that. Anything else you want to touch onto that, or we good on that one?
No, we're good because it segues really well into the next point and the next tab that I think we want to look at, which is the correlations tab, because points 2 and 3 are very tightly linked, but they're not everything. As you'll see, when we looked at last year's kind of bucket of events, the correlations between everything, the majors, and then what I'm calling the elite events, which is the top 10 to 12 best fields in golf last year. So what I did was calculated all the points for all the players for all the weeks, and then ran a correlation between that and how well they did in these regular stats. And what this kind of shows you is where the real stats translate into our scoring. And the first one, RTP score, is the actual finishing position and relative to par score. So that would be if all you had to do was pick the winner and the order that the players came in, that would be 100%. So clearly that is a significant chunk. It is, I believe, the most or second most important in every bucket of events that we looked at. But it's not the be all end all, because you do, based on the way that they've allocated the points, you need to score through birdies, eagles, pars, etc.
Gotcha. Yeah, that and this is all laid out perfectly, like literally right here. Yeah, this is beautiful to look at. Yeah, that's fun to look at. It's fun that the name of the contest is not available in majors. So one little thing that I found here that was a little fun thing. I know it's not that important, but is there anything else you want to touch on that? Should we go on to the question number 4 that you had laid out here?
No, I think that the way to sum this up is that, if you can predict the finishing position, that'll get you 80% of the way there, and you need to layer on who is going to actually, be a higher scoring player, scoring in terms of UD, and scoring entails, making birdies. So you need guys that can go on streaks, piling up birdies, having chances for eagles, because you can see you get those consecutive birdie points as well, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bogey, triple bogey, double bogey columns, those are very uncorrelated to scoring well. So the birdies are significantly outsized in their impact relative to the bad points, essentially. So the positive stuff is worth way more than the negative stuff takes away.
So I'll answer this, does this have anything to do with the fact of the consecutive birdies or no? Like, does this have anything that the impact of that, with it being more likely to get consecutive birdies than, I mean, anything else of an eagle, of an albatross hole in one? Like, is that why it's the most heavily correlated, or am I just wrong there?
It's part of the reason. The number one reason is that if you pull up the scoring, like by each whatever, like event, essentially from the rules.
Kind of like
If
this?
it was the no, from the Underdog site, like the actual
Roger,
contest details.
Roger. Yep.
Yeah. So if it was a perfect kind of like spread, here we go. If it was a perfect spread, you'd have par being like 0, and then birdies and bogeys would be opposite but equal. So you'd have positive for birdies, let's say it's +1, and then -1 for bogeys, and so on and so forth, or +5, -5, whatever you want. But because par is +1.1, birdies are +4, but bogeys are only -1.2, you're starting to pull further into like the birdie range as being the stuff that actually makes a difference more
Mm-hmm.
than the bogeys make a difference. So let's say you are a guy who shoots -5 on your day, but all you have are 5 birdies and then 13 pars. If you, let's not count any of the consecutive streaks or anything, you are going to score less than a guy who had 10 birdies and 5 bogeys and then 3 pars, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that just goes right in the land, or right in of their scoring. So I playing the dailies, and then it's basically the same scoring, and playing that it's like it's the same thing. It's just in the terms of it's actually 4 rounds and it's a tournament, and then we move on to other rounds. So incredibly different, but the correlation between the dailies and that, at least in the scoring, is a little helpful. The next question we have here, which is we're going to really start getting into kind of like the nitty gritty. What do we do with the live guys? You already mentioned that in the top. Golf is having a little bit of a split right now in the terms of the Saudi Arabia backed live league, but what do we do with the guys marked in black on your sheet?
So the bottom line is that, in my opinion, and some of the majors have already announced what they're going to do, I don't think anyone is going to be excluded from the majors based on their tour affiliation status. So there's not going to be a line drawn in the sand where it's like, if you play for live, you can't play here anymore. I think what they're going to say, and what has been the consistent message from Augusta, who I think is kind of they're the first one, they're going to have to kind of set the tone, and everyone else is going to follow in behind. They've said if you previously qualified, regardless of where you play now, you're going to be able to play, essentially. And I think that the PGA is going to follow suit. The US Open has followed suit with what they announced yesterday, and the Open Championship has also followed suit. So it's no longer an issue of will they let the best players live play? Those guys are all going to play because they've already qualified for many different reasons. Bryson won the US Open 2 years ago. He's exempt. He'll play all 4 majors for the next 3 years, unless he wins again. Anything can happen. Dustin, same thing. Cam Smith, same thing. Patrick Reed, same thing. The further we get down the list, the more dicey it gets in terms of how you're going to qualify. Right now, based on events that have been won and last year's PGA results and last year's world ranking, I think that, yeah, Neumy's highlighted Paul Casey as kind of being the dividing line. I think above that line, you can clearly draft live guys. And the top of the ranking guys, we're going to get into this a little bit later. I think they are the most undervalued guys on the board currently. But the further you get down, these guys have thinner chances to make all of the tournaments because the way that live works, they don't get as much chance to move up in the world rankings because they don't have as many points on the table because their fields are shit. So they basically have a much narrower path to making the tournament. So these guys that are further down the list, they might be good golfers, but their chance to make the tournament is so much less than somebody with an equal or lesser skill on a recognized tour that it just becomes a very thin play, in my opinion. So it's almost like a bell curve. The top guys are undervalued, the bottom guys are overvalued because most of these guys just no chance. Like they're not going to make a difference, and the qualification stuff just isn't going to matter for them.
I know I'm getting very nitpicky here, but I just want to bring this up for people that may have the question. What do you do for a live guy that you see qualifies for Masters and then you'd see no? Like what if you were to tell someone, they ask like, what are the chances that they get into these? What would your like? And I know we're getting very this is very low. This is like last round people that I'm talking with in terms of ADP, but I just want to bring it up just in case we have people asking this because of the dividing line.
Very
yeah. Go ahead.
Very unlikely for me to make a difference. I think that the two guys you have highlighted there are Bubba and Sergio. They get to play the Masters forever because they won, but they won long enough ago that they don't get exemptions anymore into the remaining 3. They're going to you're basically drafting a team that is guaranteed to lose in round 1 of the playoffs is essentially what you've done here. And we don't even know how effective they're going to be in that round 1. They could get cut, play only 2 rounds, and then you're fucked. Essentially, that's a spot that you've burned. If we're getting down in this range, I would rather take someone that I'd rather take a Euro guy that is maybe going to get into some of the first ones, but will be at the Open. You might as well add some variance to your last round score, hope you can make it there and survive, and then get to the end and have a unique piece or a guy that's just there. Because the Open is wild. Anything can happen there. And so you just want as many shots in the chamber as you have at that course.
Yeah, and that brings up literally the next one that I have here that segues into like what are we going to do with the live or the Euro guys at the Open that may not play in all 4 majors. So again, the Euro guys are highlighted in purple versus the typical blue, black, and then gold. So but what are we going to do with these Euros at the Open that aren't going to play in all 4 majors?
I think that they are, we need to first assess, Open plus Masters is very good. Open plus Masters plus the other 2 is great, but it may not need the middle 2. I think they're very good round 9, round 10 shots down the board for a, scroll the F down type play here. Because any of these guys could pop off for a week in July and put up a top 10 essentially, and that could be a very difference making score. Because the other important thing here that we haven't touched on yet is this is a 260 person final for the Open, which is a big final for Underdog standards. And what that means is you're going to need a pretty full team in the Open, and you're going to need some pieces that either a lot of people don't have or different guys that could spike for a crazy week. The way that the Open Championship is played and is held at different courses that are close to the water, wind, treacherous, links golf is the type of golf that they play at most of these courses. There's no trees. It's very open, but there's bunkers that are just game ending. The greens are devilish. The grass is different. Like the wind and the rain can wreak havoc on full, like entire sides of the draw. So you just need as many live bodies in that final as possible, and then hope for some chaos and hope that, a live guy or a Euro guy who plays in these conditions year round, maybe you have that crazy week.
And that's what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna ask you. Is we have so people that may not know. Basically, we won't get into the nitty gritty, but like there are some European-born players that are now on the PGA Tour. So me personally, I had someone ask in there, like, are you waiting since the Open Championship is the last? Are you waiting to try and get specifically Euro guys in the top or people that have played European golf? An example, Shane Lowry. He excels on links golf. He knows links golf. He's from Ireland. We have the same thing with Rory. These guys out here that have played in Europe. I don't like in terms of that. It's just there's so much going on that it's the last one. I know it's the most money in the terms of it, but the weight that it carries, I don't know how much.
One of my favorite anecdotes from the last couple of years was at the Open, maybe 2 years ago now, when Colin Morikawa won. Going into that week, he talked to the media and said, I really am not a big links golf guy, don't really play too much. I grew up in California, played a lot of coastal courses, but it's different here. And he went as far to say as my irons aren't interacting with the turf in the way that I want. And people were out on him that week. And they said, Colin Morikawa, guy can't hit the ball. Like he's freaking out in these practice rounds. He's totally spooked. Comes out, blitzes the field, lights out irons, had a hot putting week, wins the whole thing. My kind of way of looking at it is you're an elite player. You have a chance to win here. I'm not going to write you off because you are not maybe as familiar with Europe. All those guys are alive to win that tournament 100% of the time. It's more like they're around 8, 9, 10, where if you're looking at a middling PGA guy and a middling Euro guy, you can take an extra shot on the Euro guy because it's like just in case, uniqueness, chaos, like all sorts of things can happen to really like make some of those guys jump up the board.
Yeah, and that's what before we get into drafts, we're going to jump into drafts in just a second here. That point is what I wanted to touch on was when you get down to the point, I know we all know this, we're only starting, I guess I didn't touch on this, 10-round draft, you're only drafting 10 golfers, so only 6 are starting in the fact that this is, it's a best ball, we're not starting all of them. So in theory, if you have your last round golfer scoring, like it's different because of how variant golf is, but like tacking on, like you just said, one of these Euro guys. So I know this is a bad example, but I don't know, maybe if you were on Bobby Mack, I thought someone was on Bobby Mack. Yeah. So like you see, no. So how I would go about this, and I know Chip, so I just want to touch on some things in chat here. Max says, and this is probably long ago, I'm sorry, we touched on the goods. We had to get through it. For all the people listening later, they can just rip through it. Boom, 40 minutes. Now we're going to get into a little chat and some drafts. But yeah, a lot of variables at play. It's the ultimate puzzle. It really is. I mean, it's playoff best ball on steroids, if I can put that. Like, it's harder than playoff best ball, really. It's just in terms of just the variance. Let me get this banner off the screen here. Perfect. Yeah, and then Chip types in, yeah. So what do I sort my rankings by to draft from? Like, what are the answers? So like when you get into strategy and stuff like this, this is before we draft. This is what I really want to say is you don't necessarily need your last round guys. So getting a Euro golfer that can maybe excel, and then he's kind of like a dead, but then that lineup goes through. What I would say just right off the bat is be very cognizant of how many guys you have available for the Masters. Like Chris said, availability is almost the number one thing in this first round because you want to have the most shots to advance that team out of round 1 regardless. Like, you don't get to round 4 without advancing. I know we're not playing for advancement, but like it's 1 of 6. Like, we're simply trying to win the pod to get 2 of 12 in the next one. I think you had this laid out in the sheet, the advancements here. Yeah. So you're trying to get 1 of 6. You're trying to get 2 of 12. You're trying to get 2 of 12. and you're trying to win one of 260. So like when it comes down to that, like you're obviously trying to like get these golfers that can end up in the money round. So while it's a puzzle to try and balance the guys for the Masters, have enough for that, it's a struggle then to also be cognizant of what do you have available and who's available in the most money. And like we said, there's still so much uncertainty and so much to open up that I'm not putting too much weight when I look in here of a maybe, a no, or a maybe, because so much can happen between that. Right now, when I look at the sheet, and I think when Chris looks at the sheet, his number one things are Masters and maybe looking at a little bit of a PGA, because obviously having more at your disposal is better. Like I'm going to draft these. You can argue Brooks Koepka because he's live and he's Brooks Koepka. But anyone from the 29 up, like I'm gonna smash these guys before I even think about getting one of these guys. What do you think about that? Like that's just my number one thing. Like I'm gonna get the 4 of 4, no doubt, before I even think about getting any one of these guys in this range.
Yeah, I don't think you really need to get weird at the top. We're gonna get into some player takes because I know that we both have our own preferences near the top, but there's a very clear drop off when you get kind of to the mid range, the mid late end of the draft. I think that in like the 30s, 40s is when you start to see like your rock solid 4 guys, good players, chance to win, to marginal. And then when you get into the last 2 rounds, it's a fucking free for all. I've just basically started 9 and 10 with I'm skipping whoever's like the top 10 guys in my kind of ADP queue, unless there's a sick value that's just waiting there. And I'll scroll for a little bit and find 2 guys if I feel comfortable.
Dare you say, and a dare you say, because we might be TM or trademark infringement. Scroll the F down. Like dare we say it?
Many are saying is what
Many
I've
are
heard.
saying that
Many.
this is scroll the F down territory when we get into rounds. I might even say 8, 9, and 10. Like I'll even put 8 in there. Like obviously, again, the values you're gonna have that value at round 8 most likely that you want to scoop up. But yeah, 9 and 10, I agree. Like when you get down here, we're looking at guys in let me make sure, like this range. Yeah, like this is 9 and 10 range. If I'm looking at this right, like this is. Yeah,
Exactly.
no, go ahead.
I'm thinking of it like this. You got to win a 260 person GPP in the Open to win the whole thing, and you need to survive the Masters, where there's only probably going to be 50 or 60 relevant players to the scoring, and then you're essentially hoping that the U.S. Open and the PGA you are thinking about this contest a little bit better than everyone else is thinking about it, and you're just praying for enough variance to get you through enough pods to get you to that final where you're going to have a good shot. I think that the way to build these is how do I have the best shot at the end, and then work backwards to survive the Masters, get lucky in the low scoring tournaments, and then win a chunk of money.
Would that be?
Because that is.
So is that your breakdown then? So basically, you're looking at backwards. You're looking at back end first, but then you jump to the Masters second, right? Just to clarify.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
And
That would
those
be
two tournaments are kind of like what ifs, right?
Yeah, exactly. I have them here. So basically, the Scotty Scheffler won the Masters last year. He scored 140 underdog points thereabouts. Cam Smith won the Open. He scored 180 points. The winners of the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship like barely cracked 100. They were at I think 110. Or yeah, Scotty. What was this? The
So
British 176. Yeah, which is huge.
Scotty was 130.
130, and then the PGA and the US Open were like 100, 105, 110, like in that range. So you are playing essentially, and you kind of know this in advance, it's very rare to get a high score in US Open because they just don't set it up like that. And in recent years, the way the PGA of America has set up the PGA Championship, they are trying to lean into more of that USGA lane where they want their course to be long and tough and hard, not borderline unfair like the USGA does it. At some point in the future, we'll do like a course breakdown, how do the players fit with each of the four spots. But those 2 tournaments in the middle are very like up in the air. Shit can happen. Tons of random guys make the field because there's different qualification criteria, and like let's throw No Bo Sox's comment up here. Those two tournaments especially are scroll the F down. Like anything can happen in either of those because scoring is just not going to be as high. It's like a low total NFL game. Like if you know that there's not going to be many points scored, they could come from anywhere.
And yeah, and what I will say from that too is like you're also then even though it is low scoring, you're not competing against the other tournaments in terms of points because it's in a different round. But to that point, it can come from anywhere. I will say we need 2 more. We got 15 in here. I appreciate all of you in here watching this on the Unhinged channel. I know it's a little difficult to get to it, but 15 in here. 1, drop a like if you haven't, drop a sub if you haven't, hit the notification bell if you haven't, and 4, 15 people, 4 people on here. We can get 2 more of you to join this. Look at that. Come on, little coercion. 1 more. $10 for the stream. Look at that.
Oh, snap, Phil.
Look at
Wow.
that. Some are saying it's me. Some are saying it's Chip in the Discord. You know, I don't know. Many are saying it's both, but
many are saying that no one runs better than us.
Yeah, it's a fact. So I'm gonna come out and say this. I have been so in the NBA and everything else streets that I am just as of I think 2 days ago, I'm dipping my toes in. I'm like 10 drafts in. I don't have the sweet equity that some of these guys do of these live guys and their ADP values. That shouldn't deter you now of joining or entering these because we're so early on. And because we've also highlighted how variant golf is. Like just because you have the best doesn't mean they're going to all perform at the right specific tournament. So it's just I'm getting in here. I'm feeling the waters. I'm going off the sheet. You know, I have my player takes. Now my player takes and data and specific facts are a lot different. So I think the thing that we have going for us is we seem to be on quite a bit of the same players. We seem to enjoy watching some of the same people and enjoying their skill sets that they do on course. One thing that I do just want to do, look at this. This is glorious.
More
That's
popping
glorious.
off.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you sickos already in here. Just glorious. Again, shout out Chris for doing this. You're the man.
We had an anonymous sheep in there before, and I thought that was funny. So shout out to sheep.
What are we thinking here? Is it just straight up JT?
I'm good with any of those 3 guys. Yeah, it's just personal preference. So let's roll JT. This I was gonna say as we opened up the queue here. 4 is my least favorite spot to pick from. I think there's a really big drop off after the first 3.
You could say a big drop off, yeah.
Yeah. So that is unfortunate. And this tier is flat. I think that 5 and 6 are nice because then you get kind of your pick of these next guys on the wheel. And then we're gonna get. I don't hate whoever falls to us here.
Yeah, so I will say, I bet JT thinks he's in the top. I bet he thinks he's. Oh, see, Doob's in here doing the. Yeah, he knew. Where Willie Z stands here. Now, are you Cam Smith or are you Patrick Cantlay?
I'm probably Cantlay, but I'm a Cantlay guy. And I'm
a Cantlay guy too. I mean, he's got the Michael Jordan. He's got the Michael Jordan lick the lips going on with him. Yeah. And
there's going to be
if I have a chance to draft Cantlay over Cam Smith, I think I'll do it every time. I will say.
It's tough. Cantlay to me, guy has been a killer for the last 3 years, hasn't broken through at a major yet. He had a really shitty run going of bad major finishes until I think it was last year's Open. He ended up coming T6 or T7 or something. Mm-hmm. And guy just reels off wins in big fields. He just has not popped at one of these events yet. And I really feel like there's going to be a year where he pops off for a major and 2 other big wins. He has player of the year caliber stuff, and he's proved it before in big ass fields.
Chip! Goddamn Chip!
Son of a bitch.
All right. So I mean, I like Hideki, but I understand the sheet will probably say maybe otherwise in terms of that. Maybe not.
I like Hideki or Sungjae. Either of those 2 I'm good with. I wouldn't go to Cam Young here. I'm down on Cam Young.
Yeah. Cam Young, man, talk about a guy that can just, in dailies, when you look at, and we'll get into that, we'll draft a couple. Maybe let's check that. Hold on. I need to check and see if they, since the tournament's still going, I wonder if they have these dailies up for us. Oh no.
Not
Oh
yet.
no. Oaks. We're gonna need to get Oaks in chat. I'm gonna need a message. Oh no. All right. Well, the thing is, I don't think they can get this up because of the cut. Man, that sucks.
That is the
I'll
issue.
message and see. I'll say I'm on stream and see if there's anything you can do. But what are you thinking in this next pick here? I have an obvious name if he falls.
Me too. I have an obvious name, and then Dubes is here. Okay, all right.
I mean,
yeah, that's our click.
Yeah, I'm a big Sam Burns guy. I mean, he just to me, he's like, wasn't he number one? Didn't he win the FedEx Cup? Was it not last year or 2 years ago? Or was it not FedEx? What
No,
did he
but
win?
he was close. He was very high up in one of those FedEx Cup things because he ripped off. He won like the Valspar. He won
You're right.
Colonial last year. He's won some like big boy events in big boy fields. And I think that he's on a shitty kind of run of form at the moment. I bet him this week because he was 50-1. So I like that. He wouldn't shock me if he, went off at a major. He finished pretty well, I think, in the U.S. Open, the PGA last year. Like he is a guy who fits long, hard, tough courses well, and he doesn't wilt when he's up against some of the best players in the world, which is a very important thing for me, especially some of these guys that haven't won before or don't win very often. I can't have you up on the tee on 16 at Augusta trembling because you're in the final group with like John Rahm. I think Burns he's got the nuts.
What are we thinking here?
For me here, it's Bryson, and it's kind of not close.
I was thinking the same thing. Cool. All right.
So
you want to explain this pick before? Well, cue him up. You want to explain this to the people why Bryson over Keegan, Sahith, and Seamus?
Bryson is my highest owned player right now. I've been drafting him like a fiend. I'm biased. I like Bryson. I think he's on to some of the right things with his golf game. And he is one of the few guys that will be live every year that he has this game to win a US Open or a PGA or a Masters, because he can just nuke the shit out of the ball. And driving distance is one of the most important skills at Augusta to have because it is not the longest course in the world. And some of the longer holes are very gettable. In like the 13th and the 15th are par fives that you can get at in 2 shots and have chances for eagles, birdies, big scores. Now, his problem is that he's also very good at putting up big scores in a negative direction because he will take a double or a triple. But he is so erratic and he is very aggressive that he will pile up points for you. And he actually backdoored a T8 last year as well at the Open, which was interesting.
What are we thinking here?
Here, I like Adam Scott.
I was going to say Scott, yeah.
Aaron Wise would be the two here out of this group, I think, for me.
And what we're doing here, I think we're both just looking at, I'm looking at the sheet for me. I'm also looking at this. It's been very helpful, but I see 3 for Adam Scott. And the thing for Adam Scott is I still think he's still doing well on the tour. Like he's still got something left in him. He's not like these other older guys that you may think of. I'm still drafting quite a bit of them when it comes to dailies like last year and just in this fall. So when I see 3, when I know a guy that's played Augusta quite a bit in his career, now that's something maybe I will touch on here. The Augusta, okay, Chip, this is hilarious. Dustin Johnson does go crazy.
I don't think they allow that in Saudi Arabia, actually. So
I was going to say I can or cannot confirm that there, Chip. That's a you thing. So I know a lot of people are talking about, I think the narrative has always been, and it's not even narrative. It's just Augusta, your first time there. Like first time winners don't happen. But then again, it's also just knowing the course and knowing Augusta. It's a totally different thing. I don't need to go into how many Adam Scott's been there, but Adam Scott's been to Augusta quite a bit. So those players, I think, they just kind of maybe my bias takes over, and I'm like, well, that's basically in terms of the tiebreaker, he has 3 majors already locked up. He knows Augusta well. He's still a pretty good golfer, and he's ranked where he is here in ADP. It's like a smash pick kind of for me.
Yeah, agreed. After this pick, let's segue into a little bit of skills talk because Adam Scott is a perfect example of that. This is the shitty range. I really don't like this range.
Yes, it is.
Probably Billy O or Taylor Montgomery. Up to you.
I'm making you take the guy that we all hate. But the only thing I do love about it is he hates live guys more than like anyone else, and that's great.
He's the one guy that is like carrying the beef between the two of them, besides Patrick Reed. But Patrick Reed is, it's just an angry fellow. But yeah, Billy Ho is like the one guy who's, outwardly just an asshole. Like, you think this dude gives a fuck? No, he does not.
It's not going to show anything. I'm trying to find the picture that you had. Of course, I mean, look, this is Billy O. I mean, what are we doing here, dude? Like, this guy is just—he's a funny guy when he gets going, but yeah, he's an interesting.
He is also a fucking nightmare to watch. Like, if you turn the coverage on and he's there, just come back 2 minutes later and this dude's still going to be like fidgeting over the ball. Now Cantlay's the same way, so I can't throw too many stones because I love Cantlay, but like Billy Ho is a nutcase on the course, and he's appointment television because you don't know, like, he could spear his caddy with a 7-iron. Like, I have no idea what this guy's capable of.
Cantlay's the human rain delay. Dude will make anyone playing with him miserable. Man, Taylor Montgomery staying here for this long is.
I would consider it. I would also consider Louis.
Okay. You're the same. You tell me.
Let's do Louis. We don't have enough live on this team for my liking.
That's what I love, baby.
Louis is, Mr. Second Place, and a similar kind of skill set to Adam Scott. What Neumy was going to get into for sure with the dailies is ball striking, which is hitting the ball off the tee and hitting the ball with your irons, is very important, and it's very repeatable. Guys that hit the ball, 330 yards straight, that's a skill that you can projectably do every week and rely upon. Anyone can have a hot putting week, but some dude who hits it 280 can't just all of a sudden put on 50 yards and hit it 330 for a week. So that kind of stuff is important. And when in my opinion, the right process move with most of these guys is to look at who hits the ball very well off the tee with their irons, and then pray for some good putting weeks. Morikawa is the perfect example. Guy fucking stripes it with his irons. Shitty putter. But when he gets hot with his putter, he's picking up like 4, 5, 6 strokes with his putter. Yeah. So he's horrible most of the time. Exactly. Yep. And then he'll go nuclear for a weekend.
Yep.
All right. So Taylor Montgomery.
Yeah. So we're just going to eat Taylor Montgomery as our 9th round pick. That's incredible. I will take it because, like we literally just stated, I will go to the sheet here. Taylor Montgomery, like I was kind of stating, I kind of hovered over him. He will show on the sheet that maybe, no, maybe. The thing about Taylor Montgomery, I need to make sure, he was a rookie last year, or is he official?
I think he was technically a rookie last year and played just enough.
I have to get the whole MLB rookie service time thing in my head with every other league. And I'm like, no. He played. He was a rookie. It's that simple. You know what I mean? It's that simple, service time. He was a rookie last year. So that's why he doesn't have any of these qualifications for the major. Like, that's the grain of salt and the thing to put in there. He is 51 in world golf ranking. He moves up one golf spot. One official world golf spot. He's 50. He's top 50. He's in the Masters. And then continue to qualify and do all of this other criteria that would then allow him to be in these other majors. So I would say, I know we're on the clock here, check out this major qualification criteria. It is very, very important to help future golfers. You want to scroll the F down? Who do we want?
Yeah. Let's even give me one more scroll.
You want him? You want to just do it for the bit?
We got to do it. Yeah.
Like, I'll just do it for the bit. Like, I don't even care. I don't have one share of them, and I know Chip was probably going to do it. Like, when Tiger Woods wins the 2023 Masters and you don't have all of the Tiger Woods shares, you're going to be crying. No,
2023 Open. We're saving him for the Open, so he'll be the 1 out of 160. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So someone put this in the chat before. Can we take Tiger? You can. It's a free country.
Let me bring that up.
It's a free country.
That's fantastic.
Just don't plan on getting any points from the U.S. Open and the PGA. Those events, courses, types of things, you're just zero. Like, he's either going to skip because it's brutal on the body, like the walk, the playing, the conditions, everything. It's hard, and he has, been many injuries, many issues over the years. He'll walk Augusta forever. Guy knows that place inside and out. He could play that every year for the next 10 years, and I wouldn't write him off. The Open, it's a flat walk because the way that the golf courses work there, it's a lot of, seaside land. There's not big ups and downs. And it's going to be, it could be shitty conditions. He could win one of those like Tom Watson was like 61 or something when he competed like 10 years ago. So Tiger, like the guy who's the best player of all time, you're gonna write him off for one weekend at wherever. It's Liverpool this year, so like, I'm fine with taking a shot on him as long as you've built up a base of guys that are gonna play four majors. Otherwise, I think he's like in that scenario. You're not taking him in the 8th round because you want to, or you're not taking him in the last round if you've already taken a shot on, two borderline guys and maybe a guy that's in 2 out of 4 or something like that. Like you need to be like pretty safe with your volume, and then you can tack him on as a fun extra piece.
Yeah, that's well said. Hey, give me 1 second here. I gotta take care of the cuts. Just give me 1 second. I'll pull this up here. If there's anything in chat you want to touch on,
I will filibuster for you. The Tiger point is a very good one because he is a differentiator. He will be more popular drafted wise than his actual skill level. Likelihood to win, underdog scoring points will indicate. So that's kind of part of the tax you have to pay as you're going here with him, is you're definitely not getting the best. It's not the best value proposition to kind of sign him up and add him to your team. In that spot, if we hadn't gone that route, I think the way that I would have wanted to go was one of the Euro guys down the board. On that team, we were a little bit light on the Euro exposure. We had Louis, who's a live guy, but it wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. We got that falling Taylor Montgomery that could have also been like a Euro spot. I like Alex Noren in that range as a guy who's going to qualify because he's been on, Ryder Cup teams. He's actually, has he? I don't know, but he's going to finish well in the DP World Tour. He's going to have world golf ranking points. He'll be kind of around in that range. And he's another guy that could, pop off for a week at the Open. And that's really all you need at that point. So feel free to pick quite literally almost anyone down the board that you feel like might have a chance.
Yeah, I heard that as I was doing that. I have the headphones in here. And the reason that what I'll say to that is, your point exactly. What I wanted to actually do and touch on was if we didn't take Tiger, so people could see in thesis of what we were talking about, scrolling the F down. I also wanted to say I think Tiger fits that bill of what we were talking about. Of you just said he's the 2 courses that he's most really that you only got to carry about is the first and the last one, which in terms of this contest kind of sets up in the way that it makes them a little more valuable. In the middle ones don't matter, and you're not really expecting to get that 10th round pick there. If we didn't have Tiger there, let's scroll down. Who would have kind of? I don't know who would there. Who are the guys we're looking at here? Just so I can name off a couple and queue them up in these back ends that you're often scrolling the F down for, or maybe in the market for.
So Bobby Mack is one of my favorite ones. He's moved up a little bit. He is one of those guys that's currently not in the Masters field, and he needs, I think, a win or a nice WGR bump to get there. So he might not be around. But if he gets in, hits the ball a mile, and he's left-handed, which are 2 things that are very beneficial at Augusta. Just the way that the course is made, you can kind of get a little bit of an advantage just based on the way you work the ball and play. So those would be 2 pros for him if he was to make it. And then at the Open, he's a guy that
you said lefty. All you said is lefty in my mind.
That's fair. That's fair. And then at the Open, he's a guy who plays links golf all the time, big hitter, can score. He, I think, made the top 10 in the Open 2 years ago. So he's got, a reasonable finish. He's a guy that I like. He's got a good pedigree, that kind of stuff. On the non-Euro side, can you find me Gary Woodland and see where he's at?
I love it. I love it. And the thing I want to touch on before you say that, or maybe you can even touch on it, I'll scroll the sheet while you can do it simultaneously.
He's a 4 out of 4 man.
There you go. Where is he down here?
Right, you just passed him. Up a little bit. He's below Tiger, right below Lucas Herbert. So he won the U.S. Open 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yep.
He's still exempt, so he's going to get to play all 4 no matter what. very rare in this range. And essentially, the skills come and go. Could still pop off for a week in a field like Augusta where there's only 90 dudes. PGA, US Open, same thing. Hard course guy. He's always been kind of a guy that popped at hard courses. He was kind of notorious for he hits it a long way, but he always did well at courses that were narrower and tougher and shorter, and he could club down and kind of play with his accuracy essentially a little bit and still get it out as far as everyone else. So he's a guy that I like to mix in if I've taken, some more lib shots or some Euro shots earlier. And if I need a little bit of floor right at the end of drafts, he's a very nice kind of piece to add on.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Any other guys you want to mention down here? Otherwise, we can touch on the questions that we have too. If we're just gonna, but I mean, I bet you got quite a amount.
Yeah, I pretty much I'll literally just scroll and then stop and look at the page and be like, all right, this is a Euro guy that plays. I've heard of him before.
Yeah, and if,
Adrian
in terms
Moronk,
of that,
right there, like he's in.
you can do these.
Derek Higo, why not? Like,
yeah, and you can do exactly what Chris is saying and do that. And here's the ADP, and now you can see exactly if you have no clue a Euro guy, no clue a live guy versus a PGA. Here's what you got right here. Boom, you got that. You can kind of make a little mental note. The more you start doing these drafts, you'll have a mental note of exactly who's available. Like it's repetition. Once you get 10 down, it's like, I'll do the next 10. Boom, I'll just boom, boom, boom. So, yeah, I know we need one more. Chip, do the Lord's work, do whatever. We just need one more. We got 15 watching. That means at least 11 of you can join. Do the Lord's work. Help us out. Fill it. If you know nothing, use the sheet. Click a bunch of people. Click Tiger 101. I don't care. Join it. Help us out. I have some questions that I piled up. Some of them we've kind of already answered. But I do just want to touch on these for the people that asked. We have
with some breaking news?
Oh, yes.
Christian Javier, 5-year extension, $64 million from Houston. I like it.
I like that a lot.
Third highest owned player, maybe.
Oh, but the contract year incentive is out. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we like it. We like the arm. We like the talent. We're ready to lock it in that's a reasonable price. I'm in big, and this is nice confirmation bias that they like him too.
Yeah. Chip trying to lure me into making Chris do basketball. It's not happening. Although
not a chance.
As a DGen, I do just have to click and see what we're looking at. That is going to feel very close. There's no way 43 minutes. That is some large overlay in the forecourt press. Yeah, that's definitely some. Oh, finally we got to the fill. All right. I just want to touch on these questions quick. I know we're getting past an hour mark. I don't want to keep Chris too much longer. I don't want to make this too long of one, but how does the advancement and some of these we've touched on, so I'll kind of read them. We'll touch on them. We don't have to go too deep into them because we've kind of already done it. But I just want to touch on these because people did specifically ask me, and I said I would touch on them. How does the advancement work / should you prioritize golfers who do well on the early courses in the tournament? I think we touched on part of that in terms of you're targeting golfers that have availability in the Masters. Now, in terms of golfers that do well in the tournament, that is something that we can look into. You can, what I will then go into the dailies, this is specifically for this tournament, the waste management, you can look up live like shots and look up like their strokes gained approach off the tee, around the green, tee to green, total, we're looking at around the green, putting. You can look at all of this, and then you can also go even deeper and look at like specific Masters and look at like people and how their skills comp to the course. I know we're on the clock here.
It doesn't really matter. Oh, there we go.
For me, it's Rory.
Yeah,
I know it's a top 3, but I still would go Rory. I'm a big Rory guy.
It's a 1 and then a 1A in Scheffler for me, or a 1A, I guess, for the first two, and then Scheffler's 1B. Like he's clearly third,
I feel that.
But he's clearly ahead of fourth. Rory and Rahm, I think you can take whoever you want 1, 2. I wouldn't be trying to like change it up too much in terms of reaching too far down the board. They're going to be 1 and 2 this whole time, unless Scheffler goes on another like nuclear run, which he's winning right now again, or JT does something crazy in the next couple of weeks. But those two guys are your number 1, number 2 players in the world for my money from now until Augusta.
Yep, and basically to touch on that, how do you prioritize? You're looking for golfers that have availability on the course, and after that, you can specifically look up golfers in here and look up how they compare to the specific course model. You can and look that up. You'll be able to. You have that right here. You can look up everything course rankings. Just datagolf.com. Once you get here, like it's everything's available for you. It's at your fingertips. I will specifically kind of touch on what I look at for dailies here in a second. Are the correlations between golfers, or is it correlation between types of courses? There's no correlation between individual golfers whatsoever. Literally, golfer is not correlated to another golfer, except for the fact that if we're talking about waves, and that's really not even correlated to another golfer, that's just correlated to the weather, is how I would like to say it. Like, literally, how one golfer is doing is not going to affect how another golfer is doing. There's no anything like that. You can touch on that. Maybe I'm completely wrong, talking out of my ass, but yeah.
Let's take Homa
I was
or
going to say,
Hovland, yeah, or Fitz. Any of those three. I'm
not
out.
a
I'm
Jordan
out on
Spieth
speed.
guy.
I'm not
Not
a
a
Jordan
Jordan
Spieth
Spieth.
guy. This guy just keeps like the magic. He's got, if anyone here is a golf fan or not a golf fan yet and needs one show to listen to every week to keep you entertained throughout the summer, the Pat Mayo Experience, the Monday show with him and Jeff Feinberg. They do the weekly kind of preview. Gold. Here, fuck, DJ went. DJ would have been a snap click for me.
Mm-hmm.
So would Fitz. Probably I'm Hovland here. Yeah.
Yeah, I like me some for you NBA bros. I like me some Vic Hovland. Yeah, that goes way over, but let's see here. So yeah, was I completely talking out of my ass? Correlation between golfers, types of courses, or are you kind of on board there with that question?
Bit of both. So between players, you're right. Tee times, waves, weather. We're not going to know anything about that until way closer to the tournament. So you can disregard anything tee time related now. Types of players correlating is interesting to me, especially at certain types of courses that we know a lot of stuff about, like Augusta, where they play every year. We know that you need to hit the ball far and you need to hit the ball really well with your irons. So if you are, funny enough, those are the best players in the world, and those are repeatable skills. But I like trying to kind of line up, if the course plays a certain way that really benefits players that hit the ball a mile. For example, it rains. That means you're not going to get as much roll on the course. Things are going to be soft. So being able to hit it further in the air becomes a significant advantage. In that case, you might want to take, a bunch of guys all on the same team that all are very strong at hitting the ball far, or hitting the ball, accurately if it's going to be a tight, narrow course, or hitting the ball with their irons exceptionally. Because there's some places that are wide open off the tee, and all that matters is hitting it with, your irons close to the pin. Augusta's like that. Driving accuracy does not matter. There's no rough. Like, you can hit it wherever the fuck you want, and you just need to be able to play with your next shot. So I don't mind correlating that way. Correlating courses is also very interesting to me, because there are places where certain people pop up, like, at the same spots year over year. Max Homa plays really well in California for some reason. Like, the guy just, that type of grass, that type of course, that type of build, like, he's also a very good golfer. So there's you have to remember that. But he has a bucket of courses that are, very good for him, and he plays well at. So you kind of have to consider these things. Augusta, there's a set group of, corollary courses that are, nothing is the same as that course in terms of its history, but there are other places that have similar elements that you can also look at.
What are we thinking here? I have a name in mind, but
I'm a Tommy guy, so I
okay,
would say
cool.
Tommy.
Yeah, Siwoo drives me absolutely up a wall. With what you're gonna get from Siwoo.
I love betting Siwoo outright, because he is the Ricky Bobby of golf. He is first or last, and there is no in between. You're either getting Siwoo on a heater, who's winning the players as like an unheralded guy, or he's going like 8 over par. Like, there's no in between. So not exactly ideal for building like a solid floor here of guys that are going to play all the rounds and all the tournaments. But as a spike week guy, you can't really do much better. I like, is
What do we
Brooks still
think?
around?
Brooks is gone. He went
Fuck.
up here by
Yeah.
Chip. So
Yeah.
we're looking at
I
Siwoo, Keegan, Sahith,
I'd go I would go
Hatton.
hat I'd go
Yeah,
Hatton,
yeah,
truthfully.
because now we're getting the Euro. Well, not really. See, this is where this is. It's not the Euro guy, but he's English. So he's got that experience. He knows he's literally from there. So that's the type of thing I was playing into.
He's going to play all four. He's a Ryder Cup guy, which is actually kind of a criteria for most of these events. You've played on a team in the past, you get to play again. He's a quality, like pure skill golfer. He is better than the guys around him. I think he's better than Keegan. I think he's better than Sahith. I think he's better than Siwoo. He's a little bit lower in ADP because he doesn't play as often on the PGA Tour because he is European. So some of those guys are a little bit more particular about when and how they play. Sahith is a volume. Like if this was a like every event, Sahith is a volume monster. That guy plays all the time. Same with
Yeah.
like Sung Jae. Same with
Yep.
some of these other young guys. They're just out there. Some of the Euros don't play as much. Hatton's not skipping any of these majors, and he's getting into all four. And I like his shot in a Euro. And he's a guy that can get freaky hot with the irons and the putter and everything.
Yeah, I'll just highlight him here for people wondering where we're looking. Right here on the sheet, 4 for 4. Here are the odds and everything you have for it. Yeah, it's just right on that kind of cut line of the 4 for 4 guys. So I think that lines up right. And if I'm thinking right, so far, I mean, you can kind of do this in the first 5 rounds, but I mean, 4 for 4, 4 for 4, 4 for 4, 4 for 4, 4 for 4.
Yep.
So in terms of that, we already have 5 golfers that are available for the Masters. That's just something to keep in mind while you're building. It's important because now when you draft a later round guy, you don't if you get to the 10th round, if you have 9 guys that are already available for the Masters, you have the ability to potentially get that one guy that isn't have it set in stone. He's not available there because it's not going to set you back. If you get to the 9th round and you only have 7 or 8 guys, it would be tough for me to not click a guy that has Masters availability. I don't know about you, but it's like I want to have at least 8 or more guys for the Masters. That's kind of my cutoff. And 8 is still like 8 is kind of like really pushing it.
Definitely. So the Masters field last year, let me just do the quick math. There were 90 guys that played. That's including, a bunch of old fucks who are not going to count, really. A bunch of amateurs that are going to get slaughtered as well.
Whoa. You're telling me Francisco Molinari and these boys back here, like, Charles Schwartz live, but we're telling me these old fucks just don't have a chance? You're not going to come out here and just shoot a nice 5 under round 1?
My man Francesco, he does not count. He is in the live body list because I've drafted him a couple times. I don't hate it. He fits he's Italian Gary Woodland. He's got the exemptions. And he'll be there all four rounds. Don't know what the fuck he's gonna do there, but he'll be there. So I don't hate that.
What do you think about
this
Wise?
is
Yeah,
the
I think it's
exact same board we were in. I like it. Yeah.
And then we'll go here just so I can kind of show people back and forth of the guys that we're clicking. You can kind of get an overview of it as I'm trying to find it here. Wise fits what we were talking about. Gets the major or gets the Masters. He has the Open, and he still has the ability to qualify for these others. Let me check his World Golf ranking.
I bet 36. when I do the update, he's gonna be a 4 yes guy. I'm pretty sure. He won, maybe he didn't win this year, but he was in the final last year, I think. So he'll be around the top. And if I had to guess, he'll be a 4 out of 4 guy. So
yeah, that's 6. If you were to guess that right now, we're 6 of 6, 4 for 4, and that's pretty beautiful to start this out. What are you thinking here?
I like Patrick Reed. He's undervalued. In my humble opinion, he is a live guy that is a good player, and he's going to be in. And dude competed the other week in Saudi Arabia, went toe-to-toe with Rory right down at the end. So these live guys, they're not playing the best events. They're not getting, as much good reps as everyone else, but they are still at their core good golfers, the top guys. And I feel like he probably should be going 5 to 7 spots before he goes.
Yep, another guy fits literally what we're talking about. He gets you the Masters. Another guy that's available for the first tournament to get out of there. Now, when it comes down to this, it's so variable. We don't know. Things can happen. Again, updates are going to happen. The availability for this. Patrick Reed, he did not win a major, correct? Right? Like so he doesn't have that exempt, or did he?
He won the Masters maybe 6 years ago now. So I think he is
Okay.
or 5 years ago. He's on
Yeah,
the
so I was gonna
border.
say he
Well, he
wasn't.
gets the Masters forever.
Yeah, so
But
it's these two. He doesn't. He like the exemption kind of ran out, correct? Like for all
yeah,
four. Yeah.
I do believe. Let me do a quick check because some of them changed the way that they counted for the COVID year. Some of them extended it another year if they didn't play the
Gotcha.
event, and then some of them didn't. So
Gotcha. So like, and again, we're looking at that again. Another guy that just fits that. Get you that first one, get you that second one where the money counts, another availability, and then hopefully those 4 for 4 guys or someone else in these later rounds, or he gets availability for these Masters. Things can happen. Like these are the ones we're not putting too much weight into in terms of that because so much literally can happen in terms of
yeah.
getting these guys in there.
The other thing that's very important to point out for the US Open and the Open Championship is it's literally in the name, but they are open to anyone that is signed up to try and qualify. Professional players do this every year, guys that don't meet the criteria.
Sorry, yeah, we're on the clock here. What are you thinking?
I would probably go answer. Burger scares me a little bit, but I have too much of him already.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go Harmon, though, I wouldn't
Yeah, so I'm
dissuade you.
sorry. I'm a Brian Harmon
Yeah,
guy. Now I
I'll
go, I
allow it.
know we're gonna go here. You're gonna look at this. He's gonna be another one of this. I from just being in golf the last like from watching it and then really being betting and doing the doing DFS and doing these dailies. Yeah, I like watching Brian Harmon play. He's just got that fun little stocky like short guy to him. It's just he's a I don't know. I'm a Brian Harmon stan. Um,
He's also going to be a 4 yes guy,
Dang.
by
All
the
right. Well,
way.
okay. So we get our boy Mito here. Are you good with that as a 9th round pick?
Down.
Or
Yep.
cool.
I'm down.
Yeah. Mito is a fun one. Because look at this. People. We got Mito as a 3 of 4 because I mean, look at that. From a 9th round pick. And I'm under the believer of Mito's like still a good golfer. Like, yeah, he went to live. We know that, but like he's still of these guys around here. He's giving them a run for their money.
Technically, it hasn't been announced yet that he's going to live, but the
That's
speculation
correct.
is out there.
Yes.
So I would imagine that's where this is headed. Neiman went and their buddies, both from Chile, and it's kind of been a
If you remember the
constant.
meltdown, the meltdown. Was it the U.S. Open, right?
PGA
Or the PGA,
last
or he did
year.
the hit it into the creek, and then Neiman's
Yep.
standing there at the green, watching him just literally just blow it away.
So this is a good example of a guy core skill. He is better than that ADP, and he'll be around 3 of the 4 for sure. And then I would imagine that what's his OWGR right now? It might not. He might be a borderline guy. The U.S. Open they also allow in. Yeah, so he is 44th in the world right now. They take 2 different cutoffs for the U.S. Open, and they're both top 60 because it's a bigger field. So he has a little more wiggle room to play with. So I would imagine he'll be in.
Gotcha. I like that.
The last thing that I was going to add before about Patrick Reed is that the Opens, you can qualify. Anybody can qualify. They have a set of like qualifying events, and you just show up and you win. You're in, and that's how they fill like some of the spots in these tournaments. He is 100% crazy enough to go like pursue that route. Like Ricky Fowler's tried to do it in the past. Like Reed would absolutely do that if it came down to it. All right, let's get some.
Memento Guido.
I've drafted Guido too. I like.
I know. I'm looking at that. Yeah. So our boy Gary just went rip.
Yeah, I could go for some Euro flair here. I could do some Bobby Mack. I could do some Ryan Fox. Is another one who's going to get all 4. I think based on his World Golf.
Let's do Bobby Mack.
Let's do Bobby Mack here.
Yeah, let's do Bobby Mack in there.
Big old left-handed Scottish lad. But Guido's funny because he's actually also good at golf and has won multiple European Tour events over the past couple of years.
Yeah,
and he's kind of we said Gary Woodland was an Italian, or no, Francesco Molinari was Italian, Gary Woodland, Guido is Italian Siwoo Kim, where he'll just go like nuclear hot for a weekend and just strike the shit out of everything and be rolling in putts from everywhere and then just be ice cold. So we draft Guido in the 10th round, and then we just pray for, one hot July weekend where we get the end. We got Guido holding up the claret jug. Like life would be a good time if we had a Guido as the Open Championship winner.
I love it. The one thing we've covered quite a bit here. We're getting on that 130 mark. The one thing that I'm going to cover real quick for the people that have been asking, my BR strategy, unfortunately, due to the way that the Friday contest is structured, we cannot get it because of the stat provider, because of the cut. We don't know who's still in the tournament. I'm assuming I'm watching it right now. There's no way these dudes out on the course right now, Chris said it, are even going to finish today. Like they're going to have to figure out how to get these guys out there and play more holes tomorrow. We have this, there's a big event on Sunday. I forget what it's called. Big game or something like that. I don't know. Some dudes are playing football. So they kind of have to get done before that. So I can't draft the tournament. It's not up yet. Friday, you won't be able to draft the dailies until the cut is determined. So that's going on there. The one thing I do just want to touch on here, for anyone that wants to see kind of my process, how I go about it, how I kind of do it is I suck at round one because there's no data to go off of. You just go off of basically who's going to, it's a variant after round one. Once you get round one, you can see like stats and you can see everything going on. Like if I go tee to green, like, and this is even live. So if I were to go round one here, you would see that Jim Herman, that's hilarious. So like Scotty Scheffler, I don't even know if this is like updated, like 100%. Yeah. So after round one,
they're usually pretty good, but there is a little bit of a lag from that in their live leaderboard.
So basically how I'm going to go about it is like Chris said, putting is just it's the least predictive stat of all of these. I think you said it was tee to green, or was it approach, tee to green? How did you rate it out as the most predictive?
I would say it would be approach, off the tee, gap, putting it around the green. Both of those anyone can have a good putting round. If you're having a good chipping round, you're probably having a shitty round because that means your approach and your off the tee game are shit. So if you see someone popping around the green, probably means they either hold out from somewhere they shouldn't have and got lucky. So Rom hold out for eagle on I think 15 or something today. So that's going to immediately spike your strokes gained. But if you're in that spot, you've done something wrong already. So those two are a little bit You want guys that are hitting the ball very well off the tee with their irons. Those are the two things that I would focus on first.
Exactly. So it's like I'm looking at these two categories and I'm seeing this. And then one thing I like to do is I like to just go and I like to look at the players, like right here, Ryan Palmer. He was terrible putting. You look at his around the green, approach, off the tee, tee to green. Like look at these categories. They're all plus. So what I'll do is I'll be like, he had a terrible putting round. It's like these guys were still stroking it. They were doing everything they needed to be. They just literally could not putt. Now, if you look at him today, he went from +2 to +2 to -2. He's still out on the course golfing. Like this is the kind of strategy that I have. You can kind of see it here. +3 to -3, even to -2, still going out on the course. Like this goes hand with the dailies. I can't show it. But the guys that end up putting well, surprisingly enough, will have higher ADPs and be overvalued the next round. This is specifically talking just round 1, round 2, round 3. Guy shoots the lights out in round 2. So like, I'm trying to look at, so basically like Hadwin. Adam Hadwin shot the lights out. He was like ADP 15. Round 1, he was near 30. Like he moved up 15 spots. And that's not to say he can't do it again today, but it's just like those guys are so much more overvalued versus you can get guys that aren't being drafted as much, like at all, that have very low ADPs that were stroking it across the course. Like look at this. Jonathan Vegas. I had so much Jonathan Vegas and Ryan Palmer today because they were literally being undrafted. and it's just the easiest thing to get overweight. And my strategy for dailies is I like to be exploitative. It's like, if I'm just going to get a lot of these guys, and if they do well, they're going to help my lineup. I'll not all the lineups are going to be the same, but like these back end, it's kind of like the back end guys I'll get exploitative with. Like I'm hoping to hit the 5th and 6th round nuts and then kind of spread out my early round guys, because when you're a good golfer, you're kind of just going to be, you have a more chance to just kind of like be neutral versus just be a shitty golfer, or you just either do what these guys did in the round 5th or 6th or shit the bed. So it's like, I like to just, easiest thing, go to minus on strokes gained putting and find guys that are doing well, like you said, off the tee, approach, tee to green. It'll be the simplest way to just attack these dailies. At least that's my approach to do it. You can then load in ranks and auto. You can then do a bunch and track your combos. To each your own, but that's just kind of how I do it. I can touch on this more when we have a daily, and I'll draft on that. But we have been going for an hour and a half. We have touched on quite a bit. I will say this will not be the last Albatross stream. We will be doing more, whether it's a nightly Friday thing, a nightly Thursday, Friday, whatever we can get, a weekend. We will make sure that we can get some more drafts going and to fill these, because we just love golf and it's fun to talk about. It's fun to draft, and most importantly, it is the best sweat available in all of betting and all of sports. It's the best. It's the best. There's nothing better than watching and knowing exactly what you need, and then watching it unfold as this guy is just absolutely creaming the ball, and then just putting it right about 10 inches in between or into the hole, and then all of a sudden you're just sweating. You're pacing around like, can he make this putt? Can he make this putt? And then he misses it by a lip out, and you're just like it's just the best sweat. Like that's the best sweat.
Is the ultimate max pain sport. Like if you do not look at my eyes, do not count any of your money until Sunday, like 72 holes are finished, because crazy shit happens every week, and you have no idea what people are capable of when you're coming down the backstretch, and you're staring down this dude over here is a top 5 player in the world, that dude's a top 10 player. Like guys lose it all the time. This weekend, specifically for Phoenix, probably my favorite non-major of the year. Crazy tournament, 750,000 people show up over the course of the weekend. It's insane.
Yeah, 16, man. It's the crazy stadium hole
course.
Where everyone, it's that 16th hole where everyone's going nuts, throwing the beers onto the court, going
15, 16, 17, 18, maybe the best 4 closing holes in any tournament throughout the year. They're just fantastic. They're perfect for TV. There's drama every year. 5 of the last 7 years, this has gone to a playoff right up to the Super Bowl. So it is whoever's on the Fox pregame show. We don't need 30 old dudes on there doing their rotation of who's gonna Mahomes MVP, Hurts. I don't know if that guy can cut it. You watch the golf instead. It'll be a fantastic pregame. I guarantee you. This course delivers every year. This is the best field that this tournament has ever seen. If you are new to golf, give this 1 week a shot, because it will deliver. This tournament is known for crazy ass comebacks as well. It's very gettable on the weekend, especially on Saturday. They will set it up for some guys to go crazy. And there's always 1 or 2 dudes every year that will shoot 10 under, 8 under, 6 under on Saturday and make a crazy charge leaderboard. Scheffler did it last year on Sunday, went nuts, and won from behind. It happens all the time. This place is pure drama. So tune in, grab a drink, lounge on Sunday, wait for the football game to start, and just enjoy it. This is one of my favorite events of the year, and it is the perfect kickoff to the real heart of the PGA season.
And on that note, I just want to end with Underdog Fantasy releasing yet again the big board. Have at it, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, we have covered everything we need to cover today. I appreciate anyone that has been here. For the 5 that are still here, I appreciate you. Hit that like, hit the subscribe, leave a comment for anything. Hit me up, hit Chris up in the DMs if you have any questions. Again, join the Deposit Kingdom Discord, Badge Bros channel. Click the little hashtag icon, whether you be on mobile, desktop, It's a little thread button. You can find all the different threads we have, whether it be for puck, basketball, golf, and even I think we have like boards and all that, draft boards and all that. It's all there. We're a thread inside of a thread inside of a thread. So for Chris, for myself, I appreciate you guys all being here. This is not going to be the last one. Everyone have yourself a fantastic night, huh? Peace.